we have a big topic today. It's how to invite, and I can't wait to dive into that because that is seriously one of the most difficult, scary things we do in the business. I really think it is. But I have to take you all back to when I first started as a coach because I think it's just important to know that, I didn't just, this wasn't handed to me by any means. I started where most of you are starting. Before I joined the business, Shalene was the one that told me that Beachbody was doing this business opportunity. And they had already been doing it for about a year and a half, and so there were already coaches who were very successful in recruiting, a bunch of coaches in 1 week and in 1 month and, being able to retire from their full-time jobs. And all of that was already going on when I heard about the business opportunity. And when Shalene told me about it, initially I was very skeptical. And I think that you have to realize that, here I was very skeptical, and yet I already believed in Beachbody. I had already appeared in one of the Turbo Jam videos. Shalene obviously had partnered with Beachbody. I loved what Beachbody stood for, and I obviously trusted my sister, the person who was telling me I should do it. And here I was still skeptical and scared and kind of putting my hands up going, no, that's not for me. So what I want you to understand is that a lot of people that you're talking to have that same initial reaction, and that it's just a matter of breaking down some walls and educating them and building the relationship over time, because we're always fearful of what we don't know. We're always fearful of the unknown and unknown territory. But once I understood it well enough where I was like, yes, I love what this is about. It's not about sales. It's not about my ability to make a bunch of sales or do this or do that. It's about me being the best me, but helping other people on their journey, and that's something I love. I love what this is about. So it was a matter of me understanding, and then once I understood it, I was all in. But I still had to learn a lot of different skills. I did not know how to use social media. I did not have any type of social media following. In fact, I'm not even sure if I was on Facebook yet. I didn't have a lot of the skills it takes to make this business successful, so I had to learn. And that's something that if you're listening and you're a newer coach and you haven't had a whole lot of success yet, you can't expect to hit the ground running. There are lots of things that you have to learn and a lot of things that you have to practice and a lot of areas where you're going to have to fail first and be awkward and, all so that you can learn better skills and build up some momentum and build a network and learn how to build a network and learn how to engage with other people and learn how to communicate better and learn how to become a better leader. All these things are so learnable. So if you're not having success yet, it's probably only because you haven't been doing this long enough yet and consistently enough yet. I know when I first joined and, your first few months are always the toughest, and I kept thinking, well, okay, I'm working really hard at this on top of my full-time job and on top of being a mom, and things aren't really taking off yet. And so part of me just said, okay, just relax. It is going, what you're doing is working. People are going to start listening. People are going to start caring about fitness. I kept telling myself on the one hand that was going to happen. On the other hand, I kept thinking, maybe there's a secret. Maybe there's something I'm missing. But the only thing that I really was missing was time. I just needed to give it more time. I just needed to not give up. And fortunately, I learned at an early age that if there's one thing that I can do, I can just be sure to not give up. Just be sure to keep tweaking things and trying and not give up. That I can decide to have that work ethic. I can decide to have that discipline, and that with that, success will come. Success will follow. So with that, I'm going to jump into the topic of how to invite, and I've got 3 main takeaways. And number 1 is how to reach more people. And number 2 is learn when and how to ask or invite people to your challenge group or your business opportunity. And learn, third, how to follow up and what to expect. Those are the 3 main areas I'm going to go over today. But like I was saying in the beginning, this is a big, scary topic, and one of the reasons it's scary to invite is because we have all this fear of judgment, fear of rejection. Also, when you're a new coach, it's a little tougher because your market isn't that big yet, and so your pool of people to invite is a little bit smaller than someone who's been doing this for a year or 2. So that gets a little bit more scary. Plus, you'll have some friends and family members who are not supportive, who are skeptical, and that's tough to deal with. These are all things that I've had to deal with, that every successful coach has had to deal with. You just have to learn how to see beyond those issues and those problems. You have to, of course, start with the people you know, because that's all you can start with. People don't buy from you or join you on your team or in your challenge group until they know, like, and trust you. So you do need to make that list of everyone you know, 100 to 200 or 300 people, and really jog your memory, because we have social media now, so we have access to everyone in the United States and Canada. So don't just think of your inner circle of people, the people you see each day. If I'm a total homebody, so that was part of my fear, is that I'm not Miss Social Butterfly. I'm not striking up conversation with every other person I meet. I'm much more of a shy person. But we have social media, and if you can just make a list of everyone you know and learn to start connecting with people that you know, there will be some people that you know who know, like, and trust you, who have an interest or have a need in what you have to offer. So you just have to make that a priority, to make a list and start connecting and start building those relationships. Now, I know we say building relationships a lot, and sometimes I wonder if everyone knows what that means. Building a relationship means keeping conversation going, and of course it has to be with people that you actually like. So it can't be forced. It has to be genuine. You have to, kind of make an effort to learn more about people. I try to not leave a message without asking a question at the end, like, by the way, how's work? Or, by the way, how are the kids? And that's how you learn more about people. And over time, so not just in one or two messages, but over time, you start to understand what their needs, wants, and their life situation is right now, so that you can help them. That is always the goal, to reach more people, make more friends, make more connections, so that you have more people to help. It's not to just take a small inner circle of people that you know and try and convince them that they need your help. Okay, so let me jump into creating hype and reaching more people, my first big point. First of all, you need to understand that there has to be repeated messaging. And so I am talking about social media, because honestly, that is, I believe, the best and fastest way to grow your business. And some of you might be thinking, well, I'm just not good at social media. Well, I don't know if anyone is at first. I don't know anyone who is at first. It's something you have to learn. It's something you have to, watch the trainings on YouTube, or, Shalene has some great stuff on her Build Your Tribe podcast. It's free. You have to learn how to use social media to reach more people, and you've got to practice it. It's something that takes practice. It is a little tricky to kind of figure out, but you won't get better at it until you start doing it. You start to learn that there are certain posts that get more traction and get more eyes, and that's what you need. You need more exposure to what you have to offer and who you are, and you need it to be repeated, consistent messaging. Now, does that mean that all of your posts need to be about fitness? No, it does not mean that. It does not mean that all your posts need to be about fitness and nutrition. A lot of my coaches will sometimes misinterpret when I say repeated messaging or consistency on Facebook, posting consistently. They'll interpret that to mean that they need to post all about fitness and nutrition, and they're like, my friends and family would block me. They would be so upset, or they would be so annoyed. Well, I don't mean post all about fitness, health, and nutrition on your personal page. I mean that your messaging needs to be consistent, that you need to, now that you're a coach, treat Facebook a little bit differently. You now have a voice with a purpose behind it. And so your posts need to count. Each post needs to count. Never post just to get something up there and to say, okay, fine, I posted at least once today. Make sure your posts count. They need to inspire, or they need to engage people. They need to make people think. They need to be, surveying your friends and family about something. Each post needs to count. So, I just have to give you a quick example. I recently went to a couple of different coaches, one who was really complaining about not having success in her business and people kind of flaking on her and that kind of a thing, which I hear a lot. And then another coach about the same age, about the same, a lot of similarities, and had been in the business a little bit longer. And I went to her wall and I looked at her post. And she, by the way, is having great success and has a great attitude about it. And their two walls look totally different. totally different. Her posts were each post had something helpful to offer, something inspiring, something funny. It was just very consistent. You could very clearly see that she is a positive person wanting to help other people, and that she's not all about herself, but that she's just really wanting to help other people with everything she does, no matter how random it is. It was always about other people, whereas the other person's wall was more inconsistent. You would see some posts every now and then weaved in like that, but then the other posts were just, random people drinking and out at dinner and partying and silly faces, and it was not consistent messaging at all. Now, don't get me wrong, everyone does that prior to becoming a coach. There's a little bit of that going on, but once you become a coach, you do have to change the way that you are putting yourself out there and the way that you're communicating. You have a bigger responsibility now. There's no doubt about it. So that point right there, under reaching more people, is just making sure that your social media posts are working for you and that you're actually practicing best practices with that. And then creating Facebook events. That's a great way, make it a party, have people click going if they want more information, and then do updates on your Facebook event each day before they have to, before the deadline of, getting in on your challenge group or your Coach Basics group or whatever it may be. Another one, if you have a like page, is to do Facebook ads. Facebook ads have been really, really incredibly effective for coaches to reach their target markets. And you really have to be careful. And the first time that you do your Facebook ad, you might not get it right, but you have to be careful about who you're choosing as your target market, because you can really narrow it down. And like I said, you might not get it right the first time, but definitely investing in Facebook ads is a really, really good way to go. You can promote your page. You can have it click right through to, an application to be in your next challenge group or to be on your team. There's so many different things you can do. And fortunately, creating a like page is free, and it's pretty simple to do. And doing a Facebook ad, you might be thinking, well, I'm not making money in my business yet. I can't really do that. But this is something that does pay off, doing Facebook ads. And you get to set a budget. It can be a very small budget. And you can cancel it. You don't have to keep that ad running. The other thing is you want to create value and a reason to act now versus later. So when you're doing your inviting, you want to have things that show or demonstrate value, like offer an incentive for purchasing by a certain date. Maybe you're going to offer that you'll give a gift card, or that you have a team tank top to give them, or a book or something. So do something of value that they get for joining you or joining your challenge group or joining your team. Of course, there's a limit on that. I believe it's like a $25 limit. Promote something special with your challenge group. Again, this is creating value. Maybe you're co-hosting your challenge group with a personal trainer or a nutritionist, or maybe with your Coach Basics group, when you are promoting your Coach Basics group, you say you're going to get this, this, and this if you join this Coach Basic group. So again, creating value so that people say, okay, this is something where I'm not only going to get the product, or I'm not only going to get the ability to have my own business, but I'm going to get this, this, and this at the same time. So it's creating value, but then you also have to attach to that a sense of urgency. So attach to it a deadline, or that you have limited space, but definitely explain why. Definitely explain, in your private messaging why you have this deadline, because if they don't order by a certain date, they won't have it in time, and you really want them to start day one, with the rest of the group. Make sure that in your communications you're using lots of smiley faces, and you're using complete sentences. I know you're probably like, duh. But no, seriously, I see a lot of messages that it looks like the communications are really just a quick text. And that just kind of gives people the impression that you don't have a lot of time for them. So make sure that when you're messaging people that you're using smiley faces, you're using professionalism and complete sentences, because all of those things matter. They really do matter. And then again, along with reaching more people, still on this point, you can use Pinterest. Pinterest is a great way to link your pictures to a challenge group or a Coach Basics invite. Again, that's another thing that Shalene, I know, went over in a recent podcast, specifically on Pinterest. Okay, so I'm going to go into the second topic of learning when and how to ask or invite people to a challenge group or to your Coach Basics group. Number one, you have to position yourself as a fitness and business startup consultant. Okay, let me say that again. You have to be positioning yourself as a fitness consultant and a business startup consultant. And what do good consultants do? They ask a lot of questions. They take time building the relationship. A lot of times in the business, I think that there's all this pressure, like you want to hit the ground running, and you want to speed up to do something. You want to see success fast. You want to be one of those rock stars who hit the ground running. But what you really need to do is hit the ground running as far as, getting yourself out there and meeting new people. But you want to slow down when it comes to building the relationships, okay, asking more questions and learning more about other people. Now, that doesn't mean you jam an entire message with a bunch of different questions. It just means let it take time. It can take weeks. It can take months to build relationships. Don't try and speed up that process, because that has to be genuine, that has to be real. And so if you're positioning yourself as a fitness and business startup consultant, you're asking lots of questions, because what you have to do is you have to get that other person to a point where they have said something in terms of what their problems are, or what their issues are, or what their goals are, what their needs are. That takes time to get to that point where all of that comes out. It doesn't necessarily come out in your first message to them. When you ask someone, hey, how's it going, how's school or whatever, they may come back with, everything's fine, everything's great. That's kind of everyone's initial reaction to everything. I'm fine, I'm great. But you take it a little bit further. Oh, by the way, how was this? In the next message. So it could take over the course of 6, 7, 8 messages, or like I said, weeks or months. Let that happen, but just be very, very, very in tune with what they're saying, and really kind of sometimes having to read between the lines with what some of their underlying issues are, things that are stressing them out, whether it be lack of energy or their health, or lack of motivation in their life, or commuting too far, not getting enough sleep. All these things, we have solutions in our business. Our programs and our business opportunity have solutions to all of these things. So you have to be really, really in tune with what they're saying. And that's one of the reasons why I like social media, is because I can read a message and then read it again and read it again and read it again and go, oh, okay, I see what they're saying here. I see what the problem is. And then I can more effectively address their problems and suggest solutions. But if it's very clear that I'm not really listening to them, I'm not really listening to what the underlying problem is, and I'm just jumping to what I want their solution to be, that turns people off, and they can sense it a mile away. It makes me come across as being needy and desperate. In the book GoPro, which I absolutely love, one of the things he says, and I don't probably have it quoted exactly, but he says something like, amateurs want to get people. They're trying to get people, whereas successful people are trying to help people. They truly are trying to help people, and by doing so, they're asking more questions. The people who are successful in the business tend to have like a good posture, the way that they carry themselves, and they ask really good questions, and they don't give the other person this feeling that they're desperate, or that they're being sold to, because people do not like that feeling. They don't want to feel like they're being sold to. And the people who are successful are people who are constantly expanding their network. If you're always just relying on those same, 5 people or whatever who you thought would be interested in the business, or you thought would be interested in a product or program, you're going to come up short, definitely, in the business. You have to be expanding your network always. There's thousands and thousands of people on social media, on Facebook, on Pinterest, on YouTube, from blogging, on Instagram, you name it. They are out there, and there are thousands and thousands of more people who are going to buy products and join as a coach in the next few months and in the next year. It's just a matter of who is getting themselves out there and who isn't. The other thing you have to learn when it comes to learning when and how to ask or invite is that, like I said, learning when to ask. That's something a lot of my coaches will ask is, when do I ask? I know this person who would make a great coach, or I know this person who would like to join my challenge group. When is the right time to ask? Again, it goes back to doing the legwork to have those conversations prior to asking. The process of inviting is a process. It's not just one thing. So you have to do that legwork in advance of asking the questions so that once you know what their problem is or what their goal is or what their situation is, then it makes complete sense for your next message to say, well, given what you said, have you ever considered doing X, whether it be, the coaching business or PIO, but you're saying it as a possible solution to whatever goal or problem they just mentioned. So it's not out of the blue, because that can come across as salesy. It's in response to something they just said. The other thing is you have to detach yourself from the outcome of the invite. There are so many factors that are out of your control. You have to stop thinking that they're not responding because of the way you said it, or they're not responding the way you wanted them to because they don't trust you or whatever. You can't just beat yourself up. There are a lot of things that are out of your control. People are busy. Not everyone even checks their inbox messages very frequently, and you just have to make it your role to ask people if they've ever considered it, and let the conversation flow from there, and move on and ask more people and meet more people. Just keep moving forward. Don't let yourself get caught up in the no's, because those no's, the people who have said no, I wouldn't be interested because of this, that, or the other thing, or who seem really skeptical or standoffish, they will come around later most of the time. Okay, they truly aren't no's. You've heard this before, but they're usually they're just a not right now. That's what they are. They're not really no's. Those people usually in time, once they've seen your consistent messaging, if you're being consistent, working on yourself, and they're seeing that these things work, the business works, the products work, they come around, they come back, and they message you. It just blows your mind, but I'm telling you, it happens. So you have to just stay consistent and not emotionally attach yourself to what their outcome is going to be. And, if you're just asking them if they've ever considered using this or that, you're not being pushy. You're not saying you need to join me, or you need to try this, or you need to do this. You're not telling them what to do. You're just simply asking, have you ever considered? So there's really no rejection that could even come of that, because all you're asking is if they've thought of something. You're not asking them to do something. You're asking if they have ever thought of something. Now, the other thing I want to say is if you're requiring a purchase, make sure that you say that up front. Now, I know some do and some don't. I personally like to say it up front. If I'm going to require a purchase, that way, and I'll say this challenge group is a complimentary service for those who invest in a product or program. So I'll say something like, it's a complimentary service for. That way, they know that there is an investment involved. And whether you say that in a post or you say it in an inbox private message, just so that, you have a good feel for, are people going to be felt like they're being misled? Think about how you would want this approached. How do you like people to treat you? What would, if you were on the other end of the computer or you were on the other end of that conversation, what would you want to hear? What would make you feel comfortable? So really, really think about that and make sure that you're being really thorough so that no one ever feels like they're being misled, because then you'll lose trust. Another tip is not to give more information than was asked for. You want to talk less and listen more. Don't be too quick to give out your link. In fact, I never give out my retail link until someone specifically says, okay, great, where do I buy it? They specifically have now asked me for the link. And then the other thing you want to realize is you have to gain a lot of interest when it comes to doing your challenge groups, and you really got to plan ahead so that you've given yourself a good 1 or 2 weeks of promoting your challenge group so that you can have a good 15 to 20 people or maybe even 30 people who are showing some type of interest. And from there, you're working with all those people, asking them what their goals are and asking the right questions. And from there, a certain small percentage of them will commit. And the rest of them are the not right nows that you will just ask, hey, can I put you on a list to be contacted regarding the next one, since this one didn't work out. And by the way, I'm still going to help you, with your goals in the meantime. And again, having a deadline to order if a purchase is required. And lastly, I want to go over follow-ups. Learn how to follow up and what to expect. All the magic happens in the follow-up conversations. So if you find that you're continually putting out invites to challenge group or Coach Basics group or joining your team or whatever, and you're not getting any action, I can almost guarantee it's in your follow-up that you're lacking the follow-up conversations, or you're actually lacking a list of who to follow up with. You don't know who to follow up with because you haven't been tracking who you've been asking. You've just been assuming that it's easier and that people that you ask end up joining eventually, but they don't. You have to have those follow-up conversations. You have to. And once that deadline arrives, let's say you had a deadline for your challenge group or your Coach Basics group or whatever, you do have to do follow-up messages at that point and extend your deadline. I have a lot of coaches that will say, Jenelle, my challenge group starts, in 2 days, and I don't have anyone who has purchased yet. I have that all the time. What gets people to finally make that purchase or finally join or whatever are the follow-up messages and say, hey, I had you on the list. Did you want me to take you off, or did you need an extra day? That follow-up question, because people just get busy. That's all it is. And so to not have anyone that's, purchased when you had 10 people who were interested, that's normal. That just means you haven't done your follow-ups yet. And I usually extend the deadline by a day. And for those who don't commit to purchase or join your team, continue to help them and conversate with them, obviously, if you like them, and ask if they want to be notified for the next one, the next Coach Basics group, or the next sneak peek into coaching, or the next challenge group. And just make sure that you realize that, like I said in the beginning, I wasn't all about doing this. I wasn't at all, and most of you probably weren't either. So put yourself back in their shoes. And then when the time is right, later on, just say, hey, by the way, how is X going for you? X being maybe they said, I'm not going to join your challenge group because I'm going to join the gym. How's the gym going for you? Get back into that conversation at some point when the time is right. And that's where things may change. Or let's say they decided to, join a different network marketing company instead of yours or something like that. Then, a little while later after you've been conversating, maybe this is months later or whatever, by the way, how's that going for you? Just follow up with that kind of thing to get back in that conversation. Those people should never come off your list unless you just don't like them anymore. Now, you cannot say, I just have to say one of my pet peeves, it's like nails on a chalkboard when I hear a newer coach say, I'm just not going to be good at this business because I've been doing this for a month or two and I'm just not having good results. That's just not enough time. A few months of working this consistently, and then saying you're not good at this, it's just a silly statement. Everything in this business stems from a foundation of learning new skills and building relationships, connecting with people you've already known for years and meeting new people. And then from there, gaining some momentum. That's one thing definitely when I was new in the business, I didn't have any momentum yet. No one does in the beginning usually. Or maybe you have a little spurt, but then it kind of dries out and you're waiting for that big, long-lasting momentum. I didn't have that. And most people don't have a long-lasting momentum in the beginning. So you have to keep going. You have so much more to learn and so many more people to help. You haven't even started your potential with this business until you've been doing the right activities consistently for months. So do not give up. This business is just too amazing for you to pass up. So get with your partner, your Fall Classics partner, make a to-do list, decide that you're going to do a Facebook event, decide you're going to, try a Facebook ad together, put your heads together and do some brainstorming and figure out what your goals are going to be for today and this week and the rest of this Fall Classic. And you will find that your business will start to soar. And with that, Jeff, I'll hand it back to you.
Wow, Jenelle, thank you so much. Coaches, there was a whole summit presentation right there over the last few minutes. It was outstanding. And I hope that this is definitely one where you will go back and break this down because there were so many nuggets. And hopefully what you heard from this is there is a process of inviting and there is a skill set of inviting. It may be the most important thing that Jenelle said at the very, very end was to be successful, you have to engage in the right activities for months. This is a skill set. This is a learned trait. You may have the passion. You may have inherent talent. You may have all of those pieces, but you've got to turn it into a skill set. And really what Jenelle did such a phenomenal job of doing was breaking it down. So, Jenelle, thank you so much for your insights. You obviously know what you're talking about because the proof's in the pudding. Your business has been so successful and so rewarding, and you've helped so many other people develop these skill sets and grow phenomenal businesses. So I just really, really do appreciate you being willing to share all this, just a gold mine of information.
Thank you. It was definitely my pleasure, and I really thank everyone for being on the call today and listening.
Well, it's, you know what, great information. Coaches, I started the call by just saying success leaves clues. And the clues are in these hard nuggets that you take and you learn from. I just end with this. I was reading just some stuff about John Wooden. Many of you may know who John Wooden is, one of the most successful NCAA basketball coaches of all time, coached at UCLA. During one 12-year period, he won 10 NCAA championships. And one of the things he told his coaches was this: when you go to bed at night, I want you to dream about cutting down the nets. And, I don't know what your dreams are, coaches, what the nets look like, but you do have to firmly have that in the back of your mind. But that's got to be the thing you're going for. But then the pathway to that is learning these skill sets. And the most critical skill set you can earn is learning to invite and to follow up, just as Jenelle outlined it so eloquently today. So coaches, hopefully you'll go back and spend another 15, 20 minutes listening to this call, writing down those pieces that you need to grow on, and then go apply it today, apply it tomorrow to your Fall Classics team, and really learn from that. And as she said, continue to engage in the right activity for months. That's where the rewards will be. So with that, thank you again, Jenelle, and Sandy, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you so much, Jenelle. You just warm my heart, I tell you, because when I listen to these calls, I listen to it as like a producer to make sure that the call goes off without a hitch, everybody can hear it, and I really listen with the producer hat. But today, I kind of laid back and put on a coach hat, and I thought if there is any call of the whole year that new coaches should tap into to get the exact, prescriptive or prescription of how to invite, that was this call. If Jenelle, are you still on?
Yes, and that means the world to me. Thank you so much.
I'm telling you, Jenelle, that was so wonderful. And even though, it went over time, I don't care, because this is a call that people should listen to again. I couldn't even take notes fast enough because there were so many gems, and I was like, new coaches should absolutely tune into this again. So
thank you.
Thank you, Jenelle. And I want to give everybody the replay number. I'll put it up in about less than an hour. It's 832-225-5065. Make it a great day and a great Fall Classic. Bye-bye, everybody.